Divine all blessed, Aboru, Aboye, Aboshishe, Ashe. May our Ebo reach a room. May our Ebo be accepted. May our Ebo allow what we desire to come to pass. And so we say, Asheo. Divine all blessed, peace and love, joy and prosperity. You are now sitting with the Divine Prince live here on live YouTube. All is truly and indeed a blessing if you can just see beyond the veils, for it is all just an illusion and a test, and one of the greatest divine mysteries of this life cycle. Truly honored, and of course for your love, your support, your comments, your blessings. I've learned when you stand in your truth, truth will manifest within you, around you, and with those people who you associate with. I'm truly grateful for the message and have responded in your truth. Maya Angelou once said that when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. Believe them the first time. I spoke my truth. I shared my truth on yesterday, and I've received various. It caused me to reconsider how I was going to address my show topic on today. Whether you are seeking your spiritual path, whether you are already walking and operating within your spiritual path, we must acknowledge truth. In this commercialized, pop culturalized version of what spirituality and religion is, often the truth is masked. We go for the best look, the best filter, the best appearance, even numbers. Some of you are buying numbers, buying followers, buying likes. And the reality is that when you operate in your truth, when you stand up in your truth, when you sit in your truth, truth will manifest within you and around you. We ask the universe, we ask spirit, we ask the ancestors each and every day to protect us, to be present with us, to bless us, to guard and anoint and look over our children and our families. But how often do we really look in the mirror, look at ourselves, and truly get real about who and what we are? What are you willing to give up? What are you willing to sacrifice for this journey of spirituality and religion? And particularly for you practitioners, I shared some of the things that I've suffered, some of the things that I've had to give up, some of the things that I had to offer in order to walk authentically in this path of spirituality and religion. For indeed, you will give up something. You will sacrifice something. And some of you are not willing to give up fame, popularity, your attractiveness to the opposite sex, your social lives, and still wish to identify with, walk in spiritual light, spiritual path. It reminds me of something that I commonly used to hear in my former life when I was still associated with the church. And the idea that people sanctified can walk sanctified, can operate in a disposition that speaks to being sanctified while masking the truth, the pain, the trauma, the drama indeed were. Someone invoked the past for me yesterday, and I did a little research, and I found out that my former evangelical pastor had not only died, but within 2 years, they sold the church, sold the property, and we're talking a $5 million church. And now there's a $1 billion high-rise apartment building sitting on the corner of 9th and O Streets in Northwest Washington, D.C. My first response was, As always, respect the voodoo. My next response was how easily fame, fortune, prosperity, as many of you identify it, riches and wealth and material, how easily those things are elusive, illusionary, vapor and smoke, and they can disappear overnight, often leaving the framework of truth, truly who and what a thing or person or being is. Walking a spiritual path is one thing. Leading, teaching, administrating spiritual path is a whole nother level of walking and sitting in your truth. And indeed, when you decide to enter the energy field, the ashe, the body of another human, another divine being, there's an exchange of energy that takes place, not only among the persons or people involved, but also with the universe, with spirit. Some of you might call it karma. Some of you might describe it as planting seeds that grow and produce that which was planted. Some of you might look at it as chickens returning home to the roost. But there is an exchange for operating in the realm of spirit. An exchange. Sometimes it's physical. Sometimes it's your health. Sometimes it's your energy. Sometimes it's anxiety. Sometimes it's your ability to balance things. Other times it can show up in your finances. It can show up in your children. It can show up in your spouse. It can show up in your family. And I don't know an authentic practitioner in the realm of spirit, of any religion, of any tradition, who has not had to sacrifice something, give something, offer something. The common interest today is self-initiation. People who don't want to connect with, don't want to learn an elder, to associate with the group. And so in pop culture, we sort of see that as self-initiation. And there is a basis for initiations in traditional African culture that are described as being directed by the ancestors. And some of you who have been with me for many years, particularly on my former Blog Talk Radio show, have heard me say this time and time again, that we offer an exchange with spirit when we choose to operate in this tradition, in these paths, in this ability to enter in another person's energy and affect change. And so what I do, what I direct, what I project on each and every client, each and every godchild, ultimately is projected and directed back to me, myself, my family, my ancestors, my peer group. There is an exchange of energy that takes place. You will often be asked to sacrifice something, to give up something in order to operate in the realm of spirit with any true level of proficiency. Let's be honest, you just can't be that spiritual and operate in a carnal lifestyle at the same time. It just cannot be done. And you're going to be asked, not by me, not by your leaders or your godparents, but you're going to be asked by God, Goddess, the ancestors, the universe. How badly do you want this thing? How much do you really want this person, place, or thing? And for you practitioners, how much are you really committed to operating in this vocation? You just can't walk both paths. at the same time. You just can't. We know many pastors who've tried that, and the wealth comes and the fame comes and the Rolls Royces and the well-tailored suits. And then behind the scenes, when you start asking the members, the congregants, what's really going on, the truth often comes to the surface. So I implore you to speak your truth, sit in your truth, stand in your truth, and be expecting of the universe to respond to you in like kind. I am grateful for everyone who's with us today. Queen Bonita, I'm truly honored and grateful for you, appreciative for you. I am here for you and yours. All is truly and indeed a blessing. Kay, I appreciate you. Be knowledge, Allah. Thank you so much for being present. Goddess Reads, thank you so much for being here. Be knowledge, Allah. Do you know his name there? I think I missed the first part of your question. Let me see if I can scroll back, or just retype Be knowledge, Allah. Retype that question in the fullness so I can actually see it here and make sense of it. But I welcome each and every one of you. Original for Life, thank you so much. Kay Amina, thank you so much for being present. And I'm always open to your questions, comments, and requests. Adventures of the Truck Driving Diva, you know I love you. Thank you so much for showing up and showing out and being present with us here in this group. Be knowledge, Allah. I'm still not getting all of your question. I see thanks. Do you know his name? The first part of your question, for some reason, is not here. Oh, she asked for my Instagram name. Thanks for asking that. I have 2 Instagram accounts. I have my business professional Instagram account, which shows up as Voodoo Chief, the DivinePrince. And then I have my private Instagram account, which shows up as the DivinePrince. I appreciate you asking about it. Some people have sent me private messages looking out for my best interest to be sure that I wasn't being copied or duplicated. But the flip side of that is I've gotten some really extreme responses too in social media. I'm going to talk about something that happened to me yesterday. So a brother, I'm not going to share anything that's going to identify you, but a brother reaches out to me in Instagram yesterday as a response to my greeting. Now, many of you know that I send an automatic greeting when people add me in Instagram. Thanks for following me on Instagram. It's something very simple, very basic. Most of you respond back in like kind, you know, thank you, I'm glad to be present, whatnot. And I believe this brother that I'm speaking of did that. And I think I responded with love my New Orleans, respect the voodoo, all is a blessing. The next communication I received was, how powerful am I as a voodoo priest? How powerful am I as a voodoo priest? Now, my first visceral immediate response to that was negative. What kind of question is that? And how are we viewing our practitioners when the first question we ask is, how powerful are you as a voodoo priest? And how do I explain that to you in a private DM in Instagram? Okay. So my response was, Google me. Google me. I'm everywhere. Google me. And he returned with a classic response that I would have given, a response that you and I have been discussing here in this platform for the last few days. And that's about fakes, perpetrators, people representing the tradition and not truly representing the tradition. And so his response was, well, there are many fakes in Instagram. Absolutely, there are. So do your homework. I've been begging you all to do your homework. What kind of footprint do these practitioners have? Where are their public comments and ratings? Does the Better Business Bureau know them? And what is their rating there? Does they mama and they grandmama and they daddy and they granddaddy know who they are? Many of you are operating in social media as spiritual practitioners with little to no knowledge of what that even involves, what that even entails. And I'm not just talking about, protocol, being professional, knowing how to operate in terms of your invoices and all that kind of stuff. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you interacting with spirit, negative and positive, going in and out of the spirit realm without any real protection, very little tried and tested skills, and without a whole lot of knowledge of what you're inviting now into your space. And I can't tell you how many times I had to deal with this. I had a godchild a few years back. I won't call her name either. She probably spent 60 days with me, 90 days with me, maybe. And the next thing you know, she's a master reader, teacher, spiritualist in Facebook. And it's not for me to judge. It's not for me to tell her not to do that. It's not for me to get involved. So I didn't. I stand back, I watch, I wait, I observe. And then she reached out to me again. She needed help. She had invited all these spirits into her space, into her life, upon her children by inviting this spirit work she was not truly qualified to do. And watch my What They Don't Tell You About Readings and Divination video. I believe it's my #1 video on YouTube. Watch that video, listen to that video, pay attention, not to the emotion, but to what I'm saying. Pay attention to what I'm saying. Every time you open a deck of tarot cards, every time you turn a card face up, you're inviting a spirit. You're inviting an archetype. You're inviting an energy onto the table, onto yourself, and onto the person that you are reading. This card here in the Egyptian tarot represents judgment. But I also call this card initiation, graduation. Be tried. You're going to be judged, not by humanity per se, but by the spirit, in the realm of spirit. So we must operate with clean hands. We must operate in a clean. We must operate in a clean mind in order to not only continue to help and heal ourselves, but also to help and heal others who might seek our assistance, who might seek our knowledge and our awareness. I hope I'm not missing anybody. Greetings, Goddess Reads. I'm not quite sure your question, but I certainly appreciate you for being present. If we're still talking about Instagram, I am the DivinePrince. That's my business account on Instagram. And then my private account is the DivinePrince. And both have my face, my picture, my images. If you're still not sure, send a message and allow me to respond. And I will most certainly clarify my identity for you. And the brother who reached out on me on Instagram, let's be clear, I'm not angry. You were hella disrespectful, but I'm not angry. I'm not upset. I would still be willing to work with you, but you got to get right. You got to stand in your truth. You got to stand up in that truth. And the respect that we show others is ultimately the respect that we desire for ourselves. You showed up like a fake in my DM. You showed up like a perpetrator in my DM. And you had nothing to validate your awareness of this tradition, your awareness to be in a seat to judge who I am, And I don't think you really know anything about the traditions. I'm absolutely willing to be that for you, but I won't tolerate disrespect from nobody. From nobody. I didn't tolerate disrespect from my dad, so I'm certainly not going to accept it from the random social media individual who might have some questions about who I am, what I'm doing, what I represent, and doesn't know how to ask questions. Some of us in consciousness, we've learned anger. We got a lot to be angry about. Post-traumatic slave disorder, racism, white supremacy, attacks by the police, judgment, prejudice that we deal with each and every day as Black men and Black women, as people of color in the society. There's a lot to be angry about. But when you are seeking something, help, assistance, knowledge, awareness, the first thing that you don't want to do is to project your anger onto the elder that you are seeking information, knowledge from. I'm probably 30, 35 years older than this young man who sought me out on Instagram. There's a level of basic respect that should be acknowledged. Whether you understand who and what I am or not, there's a level of basic respect that should be acknowledged if you truly were seeking an honest, open, heartfelt response from me. But if you throw rocks, you're going to get the voodoo. If you throw rocks, you're going to get these hands. And I am as spiritual as I come. I'm as calm and peaceful and serene and all that as many of you perceive me to be. But as I mentioned on yesterday, it is hell, fire, and brimstone just beneath the surface with me. So don't play with me. Don't play me. If you got questions, ask your questions. If you want to reach out and seek me, reach out, seek me. Don't pretend it's one thing when it's another. Don't pretend that you're ready to move forward and until I say I'm sending you the invoice, and now all of a sudden I can't locate you. Let's get real. Let's sit in our truth. Let's stand in our truth. Let's be honest about who we are as a people, as individuals, what we need in order to move forward in a peaceful, positive, protected way. I offer results. Results. How many of your Instagram psychics got that proclamation on their page? I offer guaranteed results. I demand results from myself, from you, from the spirit realm. I demand it. It's what I operate in. It's what I walk in each and every day. A result-oriented manifestation of these traditions. It is what freed us. It is what introduced liberation to us. It is what moved the course of our history as a people in this new world forward. Revolution. Revolution. Do I have a question or a comment from the chat? I still haven't figured out a way to make this chat show up bigger and the video screen show up smaller, but I'm working on it. I'm getting better each day that I do this. No Adventures of the Truck Driving Diva. I didn't take it personally. It's not about, someone just generally having a lack of respect for me. As you are suggesting, it's in our culture, it's in our society, it's in who we are today. The idea of me, myself, and I, the idea that I don't have to respect anything or no one except maybe that who's giving me something. We'll clock in and do these jobs and work these careers and accept that check, accept that paycheck, and then he'll go home and bitch and complain about it. Then he'll get on Facebook and talk about your coworker, your supervisor, whoever. We don't know how to separate ourselves from who we are becoming and what and who we are leaving behind. We talked yesterday about people operating in these traditions as practitioners, but your mama and your grandmama and them don't know it. Your family and them don't know it. You're hiding it. You're keeping it a secret. You're keeping it a mystery. And indeed, you are a secret and a mystery unto yourself and unto the people around you who you are setting up a demonstration for. I talked specifically about your children on yesterday. Children, highly evolved spiritual beings coming into this earth before they are tainted and corrupted with all our BS. But your children see you and know you for who you are, truly. Your children know. So while you and your girlfriend, you and your boyfriend are talking deep level consciousness, your children know exactly who you are at any given moment of any given day. So be clear about the demonstration that you are setting, not only for your children, but for other people's children, for the next person, the next guy. I carry myself in a particular way 24 hours a day because I understand I'm representing the voodoo. As the king and leader of New Orleans voodoo, I represent the voodoo. I can't be caught out in my flesh. I can't be caught out acting carnal. I can't be caught out stepping outside of divinity and expect you all to continue to respect me, to continue to learn from me. And I see that challenge, and many of you do see that challenge in social media each and every day. The ancestors today and your butt ass naked chest and ass is out on your Facebook tomorrow. But you expect us to honor you as a practitioner of these traditions. Beloved, you will have to sacrifice. You will have to give up something, many somethings, to operate in this authentically. To ask the universe to gift us, to bless us, to fix and repair for us without expecting that homework component, without expecting a change, a shift in our own individual behavior, is leading to a pathology, a generational curse, a generational pathology that is now following us from generation to generation. We should have had our liberation during the time of Marcus Garvey. We should have had our liberation in the 50s and the 60s during the course of the Civil Rights Movement. Spell oriented, spell can also mean temporary. And then we go back to what we thought, what we did, how we operated before. 100 years out, 200 years out, we're still seeking freedom. We're still fighting for our liberation. We're still fighting a revolution for our survival. So we've got to get honest. We've got to sit in our truth, sitting in our truth, speaking your truth, standing up in your truth will generate the environment where truth will follow you. Truth will seek you out. Truth will come to you. Some of you intuitives in my group, you know what I'm talking about. That truth will speak to you. You don't got no proof. You don't have no evidence, but spirit will speak to you in that soft, still voice and will speak truth to you about any particular person, place, or thing. If we got clear about that, we wouldn't be so codependent on all these readers and all these spiritualists. If we did the work to communicate with spirit organically, authentically, as an individual, each and every one of us, we wouldn't need all these pastors and all these imams and all these crooked leaders and teachers trying to direct us. Speak your truth, sit in your truth, find your truth. There's nothing but empowerment in the truth. Thank you so much, KME, with you and for you in all of your endeavors. Goddess reads, your question, I was in bed with her and we've never been the same. Sure. First of all, we talked about lineage over the days, and how that follows us in generations from great grandma to grandma. It follows and continues on in the bloodline. But now what you're asking also is speaking to the spirit realm and the mechanics of the spirit realm. So follow me. I'm going to tell a little story, but I'm answering your question directly. I'm often asked a similar question Goddess reads in terms of dating, relationships, sex. Now, some of you are going to be really frightened by what I'm getting ready to say, but each and every person you've been with, each and every man or woman, dog or cat you've laid down with, you carry that energy in your body. And I'm not just talking spiritual stuff. This is scientifically proven that particularly women carry the energy of every man that's ever been in her. It's in you. So your grandmama, you already got her blood in you. You've already got her spirit in you. You've already got aspects of her personality in you. And so when anyone passes, just like when any relationship ends, there is a energetic connection that remains. Some of you are still dreaming about that man, thinking about that woman, still being haunted by their smell, their energy. That person is waking you up at night. There is an energetic connection there that is either maintained, particularly when it's a healthy one, or it's disconnected, cut off when it is not healthy. Now, in terms of your grandmother, we're going to always assume the healthy, the positive. And indeed, we do not want to sever ties with our ancestors. We do not. She will be present with you. And it could speak to why you still feel so out of sorts and have never been the same, because you're never the same and neither is grandma. And both of you are still trying to maintain a connection, a relationship that you had when she was still living. So she may be doing aggressive maneuvers to interact in your life, to her voice. All spirits from the spirit realm don't speak audibly. They might speak in signs. They might speak in energy. They might speak through the actions and activities of other people. And my students, my initiates, my godchildren will all tell you, I require journaling. I require journaling. And I'm often asked, as someone new to this, who doesn't have a godparent, who doesn't have, initiation, what are some of the things that I could do to start and to move forward on this path? One of the most powerful things any of you can do, including you, Goddess Reads, is to keep an email. I'm sorry. I said email because Keisha Kit, right after you said I re-emailed you, is to keep a journal. Keep a journal. And you've got to write down your dreams. You've got to write down your plans. You got to write down your daydreams. Those random thoughts that come through sometimes are spirit and intuition. And sometimes we don't know it until it shows up again as deja vu, until it shows up again later on and we remember that I dreamt this, or I feel this familiarity with this moment in my body and in my spirit. So journaling is critical. Each and every one of us has a very unique and individual language that we communicate in the spirit realm. So once upon a time, some of you in this group that's my age or older remember when the women used to say, I dreamt fish. I dreamt about fish, so somebody's going to be pregnant. Now, there are many dream books on the market, which I strongly advise against, because dream language is unique. Fish might not mean the same thing for me as it does for you. I might be allergic. Fish might kill me. So fish showing up as a symbol is going to be very specific to the individual. So in order to learn your language, learn how spirit communicates with you, you've got to document it. You got to keep a record of it so that you can then have something to go back and compare. Some of you are having intuitive growth, psychic abilities that you wake up with, but you don't know how to use that, control that if you're not keeping a grimoire, if you're not keeping a detailed journal. You're not a computer, you're not an iPad. We're human. We are divine, but we don't have that capacity for very obvious reasons to maintain and contain all that information at once in our head. If we did, all your past lives, you'd still be remembering all that right now. And your ability to navigate between what road you're walking now versus all this stimuli and information from the past and the future, you'd be completely a hot mess. And that's why the practitioner has to be trained, because I am and you are operating interdimensionally in those realms right now. Spirit is always talking to me. I have to learn how to tone that back when I'm trying to focus on something else. When I do a reading, often Spirit is telling me things you don't ask me about. It's not my business to discuss it. It's not my business to put it on the table. But that audio and that visual is still running. So the ability to separate, is it my energy? Is it his energy? Is it my ancestors' energy? Is it my spirit guide's energy? Is it the Loa? Is it the Orisha? All of that takes time. All of that takes time to make sense of, especially if you are uninitiated, especially if you have never had a guide to teach you, to walk you through these quirks about spirit life. I communicate with birds. You heard me mention that yesterday. I step out, birds light, flight, land, hit the ground, and they do it in very specific patterns, very specific numbers. And it took years of documenting and journaling for me to make sense of that. For me to even understand that something conscious to clarify how she's coming through, how she's speaking to you, and what it is that she desires of you, what it is that she's asking to do. All is truly and indeed a blessing. Keisha Kidd is asking, how long does it take for voodoo to manifest? That's a great question. That's a great question. Often when I respond to your emails, usually it's about a reading, a basic reading, a complete reading. But now we're talking about work, ritual work, ceremonial work. To the question that the brother asked me yesterday, how powerful of a voodoo priest are you? So let's look at that. Generally speaking, I offer 30 to 90 days, 30 to 90 days. I don't panic. And you are honest, off organic, while we were still in the call, or not long after the call, or maybe the call. When we start, example, Keisha Kidd, love and relationships, people are coming to me seeking help in 5-year, 10-year, 15-year, 20-year relationships. It took you 5 years, 10 years, who is now, some of you keep of reality, what are you talking about? Just to have them come back a year later and say that it absolutely took place. So Keisha, readings, nation, that's one thing. But when you're talking about result-oriented work, 30 to 90 days. Now, you might not get the absolute 100% fulfillment of that thing that you're asking for. I want to get into this major university and get into their best law program, okay? But within 30 to 90 days, you're going to get a response. You're going to get a favorable response. Spirit is going to show up to let you know that they're in the midst of it. They're fixing it. They're working it out. There absolutely should be evidence. There absolutely should be a footprint. So don't let nobody tell you, I'm doing this work 30 days out, 60 days out, 90 days out, 6 months out, and you ain't seeing nothing. Another response, Keisha, to your question is, and this is not specific to you, but just I appreciate your question. It allows me to address questions for other people. People who seek the practitioner to fix a person, place, or thing without realizing that you've got to be fixed in the process. Fix my man, but you're not thinking about what might be needing to be addressed with you. Bring my woman back, but you're not willing to look at what may be manifesting with you that ran her off in the first place. So any real voodoo, any real Ifa, any real Santeria, any real Lakomi, any real Kandable, any real Palo is going to not only address the request, but address you and the healing of you in the process. If you're coming to me seeking a result in your life, the work has to pass through you. I don't know you. I don't know your partner or the subject or target of our work. So it has to manifest first in you, first in me, then in you, then in the targeted person, place, thing that you are looking to address the work with. I know I can be long-winded. I know I said a lot. Keisha, please let me know if I answered your question specifically. Okay, now I'm seeing that you can't hear me. Are people able to hear me still? I don't know what's going on with YouTube. I've had a little problem even before I went live with things moving slowly or not in order. Can you all hear me now? Thank you so much, Adventures of a Truck Driving Diva. If I break up again or there's any kind of technical glitch going on, just type it in here so I can see it. So Keisha, do I need to re-answer that question? You should be getting a response to voodoo work to 90 days. I don't care who it is. I don't care what your request is. If it's a legitimate request, if you're dealing with an honest practitioner and you're being honest about your place in the request and what you're asking for, absolutely 30 to 90 days, you should get a response from spirit. Now, depending on how complicated what it is that you're asking for, it may take longer for the fulfillment of that thing. I think I use as an example, I want to go to law school. Okay, so you might not be able to get in school next week. School might not start back until September. But the acceptance letter, the response from the university, the receiving of the funding necessary to make that happen. Something, Keisha, should be happening within 30 to 90 days. I don't care who it is. If they're operating in real voodoo, 30 to 90 days. Is there another question, you guys? Question, comment? Another question, another comment? Okay, Bocella Pierre. Pop, I like that. Do you spell? Now, I have a dry sense of humor. I spell cat, C-A-T, dog, D-O-G. Are you asking me about spell work? And spell work, I often refer to, if you go to my website, ritual ceremonial. Because spell, for me, has too many loopholes in it. A spell, if you look that up in the dictionary, is something temporary. And so you come to me let's say you need some help in your relationship, okay, and I do a spell, you might immediately get a response. And often when you are authentically working in the realm of spirit, you are going to get some immediate response. But then if you are talking to me again, things are back at a block, will be built up, will be supported in that. We're operating in ATR, traditional African-based religious systems. I have a problem with some of the what we're doing in those traditions. It is not a word that is or traditional African-based religious spiritual practice, and that creates a great deal of play, the role that fate, destiny might play. You have sick, and I haven't responded, or I've responded. My general, you really should have a reading done first. Some of you are paying, you know, jackleg boot practitioner. I want this woman back, hook or crook, regardless of who I am, what I'm doing, regardless of what the truth or the reality is of this relationship. Instead, a spell can temporarily bring that back together. Sometimes that's perpetrated in social media as spell work. But absolutely, I do. If you have emailed me, I probably did send what's happening with the buffering, lost time, and slowing down. I'm really not sure. I am going to show I'm greatly appreciative of each and every one of you for showing up and being present here for New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes here on Blog Talk Radio, concerned about my lights, who are concerned about me eating, who are concerned about the amount of sacrifice that I am exuding right now to not only continue the forward motion of this voodoo, but also the masking, Mardi Gras Indian masking of Black Hawk voodoo. Many of you know I'm sewing right now 12, 14, 16 hours a day, just trying to make March 4th, Carnival, Mardi Gras Day here in New Orleans. So it does not allow me a lot of time to do movies, do commercials, to leave my house and go out and do some productive things that could generate that income. So I'm certainly grateful for those of you who understand, who've been observing, who've been watching, who've done your research, who've done your homework, who know who I am and are willing to assist and help. I'm grateful. I couldn't be present without you. I also want to evoke the name right now of Yvette Johnson. Yvette Johnson. Yvette Johnson. Many of you know Yvette Johnson from Facebook, from Twitter. She's been a part of our community for many, many years. She recently passed away. I want to say it's been maybe a month. I didn't know about it until after New Year's, and a beloved brought it up to my attention on Facebook. Yvette Johnson was one of my most loyal clients, one of my most loyal initiates. She's from that New York City area. Some of you in my chat know Yvette Johnson. The annual Marie Laveau ceremony would not have happened every year without Yvette Johnson. Many of my work here in the city, it's not, I don't get government funding. I rely on spirit and my community to do what I do. And she was one of my most reliable sources for making sure that the voodoo kept moving. I'm grateful for her. Even now on the other side, even now that she rests in her room, even now that she's communicating with us from the spirit realm, I am truly grateful for Yvette Johnson. So all the love, all the peace, all the rest, all the abundance that heaven, that the Most High has to offer her. Blessed be her family, her descendants, her peers, and of course her friends and family who also operate spiritual traditions with us. I am truly grateful. I've been since the knowledge that you had passed on. I know that things must continue to evolve, must continue to move forward. I know that there will be many Yvettes that'll come behind her. There'll be many more dedicated clients, students, fellow priests and practitioners who will follow in her footsteps. So I wanted to take the opportunity to invoke the name of Yvette Johnson, New York City Yvette Johnson, who passed in the last 30 years. And I wanted to take the time publicly on record to show great honor and respect to her. This sister would bundle up money, wrap it up in tape, package it, and I'd walk into the post office and it would just be in my post office box. I didn't have to ask her to help me. I didn't have to ask the president. And there are many Yvette Johnsons out there. Gratitude to the people who are doing the work, the hard work of maintaining culture, spirituality, religion, and tradition for us and with us and within us. We spend way too much time talking about, complaining about the problems, the people who do the wrong thing, sometimes of putting too much time and energy into, re-speaking my truth. But she taught me how to sit in my truth, to operate in power of what the outside stimuli might be. I don't get a whole lot of positive comments for doing this show. I get it from you guys, and I get it from your support and you all being present. But man, you would be surprised the negative feedback that I get for speaking my truth, for being present, and for trying to assist you, and also for your peers. So I'm grateful to those who offer care, those who protect, those who in this present moment, but also those who are coming. The doors are open. My heart, my arms are open. My hands are open to all that's positive, that's good for both myself, my family, and I'm here for you. I thank each and every one of you for supporting Revolutionary Hoodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes. Unless someone has more questions, I'm going to end the show. I'm going to reboot figure out why we had so many glitches and delays in the broadcast today. And tomorrow at U.S. Central Standard Time, I will be right back here. And if you need, write down your questions, your comments, email them to me, send them to me, and then I'll be ready to handle them coming out of the gate tomorrow at the top of the show. All is truly and indeed a blessing. Ashe.